Alright, so welcome back to Dell of Merchants 3. So for this video, I'm going to be explaining how the scheming green magpies work. So this is my next favorite in line. I like these cards a lot too, even though they're fairly aggressive as well. But it's still also more of a sort of like a luck version of being aggressive. Still, let's take a look and see how these cards work. So first thing you're going to notice is name a set. What does that mean? Well, each one of these colors here indicates a set of cards. So a set could mean the green magpies, any card within the green magpies in this obviously particular color. If I was to name a set, I could name green magpies, for instance. If I was to name a set and we were playing with these guys, I could name the prepared grizzled tree kangaroos. And that is also good to know because it doesn't matter what it says on top because all of them say prepared grizzled tree kangaroos because this is the prepared grizzled tree kangaroos set. So that's pretty easy to understand, obviously, now, right? Because obviously that is a set of cards there. And so name a set. You can name any one of the sets that you're playing with. That makes sense. So do that. Name a set. Then draw and show 3 cards from your deck. Okay? So you're going to draw, and then you're going to show the 3 cards from your deck, placing one of the named set into your hand and shuffle the rest back. Well, that is really cool. Because now this one isn't obviously an aggressive card because you're getting to do it with your deck and not somebody else's deck or something. But what you're going to do is like it says, you're going to draw 3 cards, you're going to show them, and if one of them happens to be part of the named set, you get to put that into your hand. And if there's more than one, well, then you get to choose one to put into your hand, and then you get to shuffle the rest back. So if you've been keeping an eye on what cards you've been buying, you might have a good idea of what's in your deck and the possibility of the named set that you named showing up and then getting to put that card into your hand. It doesn't matter the number as long as it's part of the named set that you named. So if I named green magpies, it would have to be one of these cards here because this is part of the green magpies set. Obviously, if you just get junk cards, well then it wasn't that obviously very useful anyways. But remember, this is a technique that has a plus on it, so you can still use another action after this regardless. I love this ability. This is really, really cool. So far, I've pretty much said I love it, I love it, I love it with almost everything here because, man, this is such a great expansion. And it's so easy to understand these cards and how they work. Very easy. So that's awesome. Okay, so here's the Bribe, their next card. And this is a passive ability. When you purchase with this card, your hand size is increased by 1 for this turn. Now, before I explain how this one works, this one probably so far is the hardest thus far to understand. But that's only because you might not necessarily understand passive. When you have a passive card, there is no need to show your opponents that you have a passive card. In fact, it's probably best that you don't. And there's, like, for instance, there's a card that's a passive card that the Scarlet Macaws from Dale of Merchants, the first one, has that allows you to just simply increase your hand size limit by 1 just by having it in your hand. This one is basically the same in that regards, but this is only going to increase your hand limit if you decide you're going to purchase with this card on the turn that you increase your hand size limit. So if you have this in your hand and you decide you want to increase your hand limit, you just simply draw that card into your hand. You don't need to tell your opponents what you're doing. Now, here's the thing. Of course, that might raise a few eyebrows, but if they understand how passive works as well, they won't do it until the end of your turn, because you see, you have to purchase with this card. So if you're going to increase your hand size limit by 1 for this turn, you have to purchase with this card on the same turn you use this passive ability, okay? You have to. So if you increase your hand size limit with the Bribe, but you do not purchase anything, then you're cheating, basically. You're basically cheating, and then your opponents will see you cheating, and then obviously you're going to have, some scorn raised upon you for sure. But as long as you are going to do what it says, which is purchase with this card the turn you decide to increase your hand limit, then then it's fine. Then they can't judge you for it. So that's how Bribe is going to work. So that may not be the easiest one in this set of cards for sure, but it's definitely really cool nonetheless. And they did say that the scheming green magpies were for advanced players only, probably because of this card in mind, because of its unique passive ability, fairly unique, because you have to actually do something in order to increase your hand limit with this. And it's not something you're going to get after you purchase with this, because once this card leaves your hand, there goes the hand size limit as well. So it's a one-time hand size limit per purchase, basically. So that's how that one's going to work. So that one might be a little harder to understand, obviously. So burglary. This one's got a technique with the plus symbol on it. If you guess the top card's value from another player's deck, place the card into your hand. Otherwise, place it on their discard pile. So this is really cool. Okay, I like this. This is really cool. So you guess the top number. So let's say I guess a 3. If the top card is a 3, you get to keep it and put it into your hand if it's on top of their deck. Of course, they don't necessarily probably know exactly 100% what's sitting on top of their deck, and neither do you, probably not. And so you're just playing the guessing game of what number it might possibly be. But if you play this at the beginning of the game, there's a possibility of it being probably a low number, or very, very likely that it's a particular number in general. So it might be easy to guess, and then you get to take it from their deck if you get it right. And if you get it wrong, you still get to discard their cards, so then they just don't get to put it into your deck their next turn or later on, because you get to put it into their discard pile instead. So it's not a complete wasted action, because after all, you still get to do something somewhat aggressive towards your opponent, for sure. But still, that's really cool. I like burglary. I have a hard time pronouncing that. Burglary a lot. Okay, now this one I think is even funner than the last. So here we have grasp. This is another technique with the plus action on it. Okay, so you can choose one random card from another player's hand. So you just choose one random card from another player's hand. You don't know what it is yet. You just point to one that you randomly choose, okay, or one that looks the prettiest or whatever, even though you don't know what it is. And then you guess its value, and then place it into your hand if you guess its value. So you choose one, you guess the number. If you get it correct, you get to put it into your hand. If you don't, then obviously you don't get to put it into your hand. So that's kind of interesting. So basically, I'm going to grasp your card. Kind of like that. That's really cool if you get it right. That's really cool. I like grasp a lot. But once again, it's still a gamble. For sure. Okay. Then we have Periscope here. This is another technique with a plus action on it. Name a card. Discard 2 cards from another player's deck, one by one, placing cards with that name into your hand. So you name a card. I'm going to name Periscope or something like that. Or I'm going to name Grasp or something like that. If I get it right, I get to put that card into my hand. And I get to discard 2 cards. So there's a slight possibility that one of the 2 cards is the card I named. And then if it's not, they still have to discard those 2 cards from their deck. They still end up having those cards discarded, even if you don't end up getting one of them with the Periscope. That's a really interesting one, too. Okay, and then we have Sudden Nap, another plus action on it. Throw away one random card from another player's hand. Okay, that is definitely the most aggressive card in this set of cards, but it's still the funnest for sure. You might not get to pull it off very often, but if you get this card in the beginning of the game, you'll be throwing away cards left and right randomly from an opponent's hand. That is awesome. And there's only one of these in the entire set. So if you get this, you're the only player that's going to have that awesome ability to do that. Of course, aggressive for sure, but still a whole lot of fun nonetheless. Definitely a fun card. So that's how the green magpies work. And so for the next video, we're going to do the animals that work with this interesting dice, and they're really cool too. All right, see you guys in the next video.